You're listening to the Woman of Value podcast. You are about to hear the story of a woman who is following her dreams and passions and creating positive change in the world.
The message out there is that who we are or what we are isn't good enough, so let's put something fake on us and that'll make us better. And what's happening is that in a lot of times you can go to certain places and all the women look alike. And I think that we are very unique, each of us, and we should not look alike. And when I work with somebody that, I don't never want anybody to look like what I think they should look like. You should look like who you are and feel good about that and not feel like an imposter or like you're masquerading.
Scarlett Bease is a wardrobe stylist who helps women stop stressing about dressing by showing them what to wear and what not to wear, no matter what their shape, size, age, or budget is. Westchester Magazine named her the Red Hot Image Maker because of her reputation for transforming the lives of women who struggle with how to dress so that they look and feel more confident. Welcome to the show, Scarlett.
Thank you, Sandy.
And if you know Scarlett, she is always in red. So she is not very red today.
I have on red boots, red booties. So.
Oh, well, we have to see them.
But I'm not in the mood to do a yoga pose, so I can't show you.
Maybe after. There always has to be some red. And for those of you who are watching the video, I do see some red in a bulletin board over there. In that little board with some red hearts, and because she is Scarlett after all.
Love my red.
Do you ever get teased about I don't give a damn?
Only when I was dating. And I married my husband because he was the only man, I swear, who never said to me, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. So
that's all he had to do was not say that. That's
marriage material right there.
Low standards, Scarlett.
That was easy. Yeah.
So, Scarlett is a friend of mine, if you couldn't tell. We met through a networking event many years ago. And what I love about you, Scarlett, is many things, but your sense of humor, your wonderful approach to life in general. You have been through a lot of hardships, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but you never complain. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You rise above it. And that, to me, makes you a woman of value.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Scarlett has dressed not only me, so Scarlett dressed me for my TEDx talk and for other stuff. She has come over and helped me look in my closet and find things that went together that I would never have put together. And she has dressed many of my dating coaching clients so that they look their best, and they have had amazing photo shoots because of your incredible eye for wardrobe and image and helping women look younger, thinner, taller without having plastic surgery, doing major makeovers. There's no tricks here.
And no Spanx.
No Spanx, yes.
Very important to me.
Definitely a no Spanx girl. I love it. I was just watching, what's her name? Amy Schumer. Did you see her Netflix special?
I did not. I have to see that. Yeah.
So she talks about taking off her Spanx, and she's pregnant. So for anybody, spoiler alert, for being pregnant. And she gets real. I will not tell you what she does, but it's not something that I had ever done when I was pregnant on a stage in front of thousands of people.
Oh, now I have to watch it.
I have to watch it. All right. Well, Scarlett,
the wheels are spinning right now.
I would love to know, Scarlett, what woman of value means to you.
I think part of it is to be honest, being an honest person, being when I say that, I mean not pretending that your life is something that it isn't, or that you are something that you're not, or that the people around you are something that they're not. And also to be able to give to others, whether it's through your work or through your time or your charity or the love that you give people that you care for or care about. to me, that makes a woman have value. Anybody really, but in this case, a woman a value. To be truthful and to be giving.
I like that. I especially like the authenticity. And in your field, we have a lot of inauthentic ways of masking our bodies, of trying to be something that we're not. And I think it's really something special that you give to women to feel confident in the body that they have, not the body they wish they had or they used to have, or what's popular
Right.
and trendy. I love that you're not making people be on trend.
No, I don't. I'm not a big believer in trends. I think you should look, not like you're dressing in the 1970s necessarily, but you should, unless it's a look that you like. But I mean, but not, you shouldn't be that far back. But you can look current. You can look put together without looking like you bought the last thing that the TV show or the magazines told you to wear. And the thing about our bodies is that, we are being taught or programmed at a very young age that we are not right unless we look like some celebrity or some of those models. And they don't feel very good about themselves anyway. And then I recently read, I'm not sure if it was a model from Europe or an actress who said that all those shoots, like in Vogue, that you would see her in these gorgeous dresses, she said that they weren't even closed in the back. She couldn't even get into these things.
Oh, wow.
It was all smoke and mirrors. And she said, I think she was like a size 6. So if you weren't a 2, you couldn't even zip up those couture dresses that you would see them sprawled on the velvet lounge. So we're sold a bill of goods, and it makes me nuts. And so that's one of the things that drives me is that we all can be beautiful. We all can feel good about ourselves, and you don't have to be a single digit size to feel that way. It's
Yeah,
nice, but you don't have to be.
right. And most people are not single digit sizes, right? What's the average size in
I
America?
think in America it's about a 14.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it depends on the manufacturer. It could be a 16 for others, but it definitely double digits. Single digits. And single digits is no guarantee that you feel good about how you look anyway, or what you wear. It's a lot more than just the size that makes an outfit look good or make you feel good. A lot more.
Yeah, and you've had clients who were tiny who still didn't feel good in their bodies, right?
No. And what's interesting, and when I do presentations, I sometimes ask this question, what size range do you think women have the most insecurity? And everybody always says they think it's the plus size or double digits. And I would say the few clients that I have that are in the 2 to 6 range have more body image issues than people who are size 16 or 12 or whatever. It's fascinating. Most of us would be very happy to have their bodies, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to feel any better about yourself. So,
No, and I
a
knew
hard
a
lesson.
woman many years ago. I never appreciated that I had a really good figure because, I had this idea that
You
it's
do.
better. Oh, thank you. And I remember there was this woman who was tiny. She was just tiny, and she was jealous of my body. And she told me, she was like, how do you have no cellulite? And I'm thinking, I have cellulite. What are you, blind? But I didn't care. And she ended up over the years having more and more plastic surgery. She had definitely had body dysmorphia, where she was never happy with how she looked.
Mm.
And I still remember that pivotal moment when she said to me, like, that I had a great body and she did not.
Mm. Yeah.
Gorgeous woman, gorgeous. So
Yeah.
it's not about how you look to
It's
other
not.
people. It's how you
Right.
feel to
And
yourself.
one of the most annoying things that a woman can witness, by the way, is when you see 2 people who are like single digit sizes debating each other, which one is thinner, or, makes me nuts. Oh, no, you're smaller than me. No, you're smaller than myself. There's other things to talk about besides that. But I
Yeah,
witnessed that a couple of times. Like, oh,
not good.
not good.
So, Scarlett, can you take us to that aha moment when you realized that you needed to make a change and claim your value?
So one of the big moments in my life, I was really quite young, and the reason why it was a big moment, I I didn't know it was a big moment until I was in my uh, late 50s, because a client asked me if I ever struggled trying to figure out what to wear, because she assumed that I just was just always like so together and knew what to put on. And so I kind of blurted out a story that happened to me when I was 21, 22. And I was working for a company, a French company, like really French company, a skincare line. And we were introducing it to America. So it was all very new. And I was given the opportunity to go to Paris and go to their training school. And after the day of training or 2 days of training, the owner of the company, single Frenchman, said, "Would you like to go to the discotheque tonight?" And I was like, "Whoa, this is Paris, discotheque. This is so cool." And so I went back to my hotel room and I put my proper outfit on, because I really didn't have a lot with me. And my proper outfit was a pleated skirt and a shirt that buttoned up to here with a nice little bow tie, and sensible sandals, because even then I was like, I don't want my feet to hurt. And it was probably the ugliest color ever created on earth, and I had it, and I was wearing it, and it was not a good color for me. And I'd say that it's similar to what a dog does when a dog is sick. So not even a healthy dog, sick dog. So I wore my sick dog color, and I show up at the discotheque. And as soon as I walk in, I realize that I am not, this is out of my league. The women were all stunning. They were models. They were tall. They were thin. They were blonde. They had on skinny jeans and tight little shirts or t-shirts and cowboy boots and or high heels, and I looked like somebody had brought their secretary to this disco. And I felt really insecure. And as I was sinking further and further into the private room, now this was like, he was a big shot, it turns out. So we're in this private area with a private room and all these gorgeous people around us. And as I kind of sank further into the couch, feeling pretty crummy, and probably drinking more than I ever had before, a man just literally picks me up, and he picks me up and lifts me up into the air and stands me on a cocktail table. So that's a high table. And now I'm up on this high table, and everybody starts to look, because there's a woman on top of the table, and he lifts up my skirt and puts his head under my skirt. And the room, burst out into laughter. And but it really wasn't funny. It was invasive. It was rude. He was mocking me. I definitely looked different than every other woman in the room. I wasn't dressed the way a woman should dress for a discotheque, let alone being 21, 22 years old. And I remember that I jumped off the table. Thank God I had on those sensible sandals. And I jumped off the table and landed on my feet, and went back to my corner on that couch. And I was mortified. I was embarrassed. I was confused. I was angry. It turns out that he was a very, very well-known playboy in Paris. He had just divorced Princess Grace's daughter, so he was very well known for. It was a whole thing in the family that she married him, and so it was a whole thing. And so I was not proud of the fact that this idiot, almost something that I shouldn't have said, was up my skirt. So I kind of vowed after that to never be dressed in a way that was going to make me uncomfortable or feel bad. And then without realizing it, 20-something years later, maybe more, I started doing what I'm doing now. And then somebody connected how I had gone from feeling that way about me to now I don't want anybody else to ever feel that way. And I don't. And I know people who won't go to reunions or weddings or parties because they're so insecure about how they look, or they don't want to leave their house or speak because they're so worried about how they look. And so I guess without realizing it, I kind of carried it with me, because I don't want anybody to ever feel that vulnerable again, ever, because it sucked.
Yeah, it sucked, and you kept it in for so long.
Decades.
Yeah.
Decades. Yeah.
Yeah. So did
Amazing.
you had shame around it?
I don't know if it was shame, if I blocked it out, frankly. I certainly didn't tell anybody when I came home.
Hmm.
I just was, I mean, why would I want to tell anybody that I was dressed so badly and being made fun of? I mean, it's kind of like it was like a bad dream. You know how you have these dreams and you think everybody's laughing at you? Everybody was laughing at me.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a dream. So I just I didn't feel it was a story to tell. So
Yeah.
now if it happened, I would.
Right, which is great. But I also feel like you're talking about I was dressed this way. Like it's somehow you
My
caused
fault.
this to happen. It was
Yeah.
your fault.
Yeah. I
And
know.
women blame themselves way
Yeah.
too much. We
Yeah.
apologize too much. We blame ourselves. It's always our fault.
Right.
And so I think it's really important to stand up for things like this. And you're calling him a playboy, and today he'd be called an abuser. He would be called
Yeah.
a sexual predator.
Yeah.
They have a lot more names for people like that today.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's really, yeah. He was a playboy, and now that would be considered a slime ball.
Yeah. And so like the Me
Little
Too
drop down
movement,
there.
right? But the Me Too movement gave women a voice around stories like this because it's a violation of you. It's objectifying you,
Right.
and you have nobody deserves to be shamed and embarrassed in front of people because
Right.
that's his fancy.
I bet now those very same models that were laughing hysterically now would be going, "Oh my God, how dare he?"
Right.
But it was different. It was
Right.
this early
80s.
'80s, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, also people laugh together in situations like that out of their own embarrassment. It's
Correct.
this uncomfortable, nervous laughter, and it's I can't
Right.
even.
And mob mentality is that
Yeah,
too. So
yeah.
hey, look, it could have been much worse. So
It
I'm
still
good.
sucked. We don't want to
It still
diminish.
sucked.
Yeah, we
But I
don't want
was
to
young enough
diminish
to
it.
jump off a table and get away.
Yeah, I give you credit for that.
Now I'd be like, but no problem.
So that stuck with you, and that your why of I don't want any other woman to ever be embarrassed about what she wears and ever be made fun of and ever feel bad in her clothes. And
Mhm.
that's your message. And I love that now you can connect the dots. And have you told this story on stages? Like, have you shared this story?
Only once. And I told it when I was presenting last year to a very like a large conference. So there was, I don't know, 100 women in the room, something like that. Two big screens behind me, so everybody could see my presentation. And I chose that venue to share the story. And partially because it had just come up for me, so it was still fresh, and because I felt that I wanted them to know that I don't consider myself somebody who always had it together, and I don't expect anybody else to always have it together. And it's not easy, by the way, to have it together. So I just and you know what, people in the audience appreciated it and thanked me later on for sharing it.
So I would encourage you to share this story always because it's in the telling of our vulnerability and how we overcame adversity. That's where people connect to you. And you stand out from other people in this industry because of your story. That's what makes you unique. So I would hope that you would share it a lot, share it all the time.
I will. Thank you.
Well, this podcast will help.
Yeah, true. I'll share it and then I'll be sharing and sharing. So
That's
yeah.
right. Share and share alike. So tell us, Scarlett, what are you creating in the world right now?
Well, let's see. What I'm creating right now is I'm trying to get the word out. Not trying, I am getting the word out that what I offer, what I do now, I also do through the internet, virtually. So I no longer do only one-on-one in person. Now I can work with somebody in Canada or I'm in New York or California, and I do it all through. I still can give all the same advice and all the tips, but now I do it through the computer, iPad, or phone, whatever, and it allows me to reach women who, one, yes, some of them are not in my area, but interestingly enough, it's becoming more attractive to the women who are uncomfortable being in front of me one to one. And they don't want to show me their closet. They don't want me to see how they live. And so this is a way for me to be able to help them and give them advice. But there's like not a there's a space line. I don't know how to, they have their own space still. They have their own privacy, I guess.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting because I find it fascinating how a lot of women are more concerned with showing me their closet than they are with showing me, with changing their clothes in front of me, you know?
Interesting.
So, it's fascinating. So this was a way for me to be able to reach out to these people. And it's something that I was doing and not telling anybody about. I would just mention it. So now what I'm trying to do is be more verbal and share more of what I'm doing for people who are not able or willing to work one-on-one, person to person.
So virtually, you've come out of the closet about your virtual program.
I might have to use that.
Well, being a woman of value is all about women showing up, standing up, and speaking up. So hiding your program is not showing up fully as you.
Mm.
And so, yes, I'm so glad that you're letting people know. And we haven't really gotten into too much detail about what you do besides the virtual business. Tell us, first of all, how you got into this business.
Okay, so I used to be in the cosmetic industry way back when. Well, when I was in the days of Paris. And then I left that because what happened was when I was working for this French company, a French woman hired me to be kind of like under her. And I was representing the line to stores. So I would go to, let's say, Bloomingdale's and meet with the buyer and then work with the people behind the counter and all that stuff. And I was traveling a little bit here and there, and she was doing other parts of the US. And then one day they fired her. And they fired her and gave me her job. And I was by no means as qualified as she was, but I was a heck of a lot cheaper than she was. And this is the one that taught me how to drive. I got a company car and I didn't have a license. I mean, this was like,
Wow.
so we didn't have a car growing up. So she taught me how to drive. And I have a company car, I have an expense account, I'm traveling the country, and they fire her. And it really got me because I was, again, like 22 at this point, maybe 23. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is an industry where if you get in your 40s, they let you go. Maybe she was in her 50s, but, and I thought that was insane. So I ended up resigning and going to work for another company. And then after a while, I realized the cosmetic industry was just not for me. I wasn't enjoying it. And then I went to work in the garment industry, which is the schmata business. So, and that's where I met my husband. And I was doing okay there. And then when we got engaged, I left the company we worked at together because we didn't want to have both incomes in the same place, which, by the way, in retrospect, was a great idea since they went bankrupt. And then, so it was a good move. And then I had children. And then when my second child was born, I wanted to do something. And so I started doing makeup applications for people for bar mitzvahs and weddings and stuff like that. And then right around the time that I was pregnant with my second one, a friend of mine dragged me to see an image consultant, which is the other name for what I do. And I didn't want to go, but she got like the special deal, whatever. So I went, and that was life-changing for me because this woman taught me, which is what I do now, taught me what colors are right for me, what style of clothing, prints, and stripes, and all these little details that were like that. I understood now why when I went to my closet, I didn't like something on me, but I never knew why. And when I knew the why, I was like, I went through my closet like a nut job and was tearing things out that that didn't look good on me, but people told me I should have it. People said it was in. People said you have to wear it, but I didn't look good in it, and I understood why. And then about a few years later, I met this woman again, this image consultant, and she saw me around town and saw how I was always following the guidelines. I mean, ad nauseum. And she drove my husband crazy because he would give me something. I go, the wrong collar. Sorry, honey. It's the wrong color. It's the wrong collar. It's the wrong length. So after that, I just got chocolate, but still. So then this woman asked me to run her business because she was going to move to Europe. And she said, but if you run my business, you need to get a lawyer and have a contract, and you'd run the store, and you should go to school so you can learn all the little details and tricks basically that there are in my industry to pass on to clients. And I'm driving home, and then I realized this one wants me to pay a lawyer, go to school, and give her the profits. And I'm thinking, I won't even bring this up to my husband because he's a businessman. I'm not stupid. And that is a bad package for me. And it made no sense. So what I did was I realized this could be a business for me. And I did go to school, which you don't have to do, by the way, to become a wardrobe stylist. But if you do, you're a heck of a lot smarter than the people who don't. And I went to school, and I set up shop. And it was right before I turned, I think I was 48 years old. So I was pushing 50, which was late to start something. But I really wanted to do this because I didn't want to just be a mom. And my second child ended up having a severe illness, intractable epilepsy, which means they're not controlled. The seizures are not controlled. And I didn't want to identify myself as the mother of a child with a disability. I didn't want that to be my label. I wanted to be a great mom, but I wanted to do more so that I would feel more rounded. And I'd never wanted to be angry or sad or resentful. And it kind of worked out. So.
Wow. Couple of things that I want to comment on about your story. First, I love that you stood up to the company that fired the woman because of ageism. That was big. Most people don't have that kind of integrity, and that's something I love about you. That you do stand up for your values. And it's interesting that you went from makeup to clothing. And I'm thinking about makeup enhances our look, but a lot of times it's a mask, and it masks who we are, what we really look like. It's sort of what we hide behind. So when you think about makeup and clothes as ways of modifying, changing how we look, what do you have to say about that? Like the difference between the makeup and the clothing?
I think makeup should be used as an accessory, not to, like you said, to disguise or as a mask. I have a big problem with the cosmetic industry now and the ads, but the mascara ads, the models are wearing false eyelashes, or the skincare line is showing a 17-year-old, if that. I don't like the phoniness of it all. And as a former makeup artist, I can tell you that as we get older, you should be wearing less makeup, not more, because the more makes you actually look older. And then, I mean, right now my biggest pet peeve is lash extensions. Why women are going crazy with these giant lashes that they're putting on their faces now, I don't quite understand. Because it's, once again, the message out there is that who we are or what we are isn't good enough, so let's put something fake on us and that'll make us better. And what's happening is that in a lot of times you can go to certain places and all the women look alike. And I think that we are very unique, each of us, and we should not look alike. And when I work with somebody that, I don't never want anybody to look like what I think they should look like. You should look like who you are and feel good about that, and not feel like an imposter or like you're masquerading. So the cosmetic industry, just so you know, it is getting better. In the sense that now the ads say, in teeny, teeny print, model is wearing false eyelashes. In case somebody really thought the mascara could make them look like that a year ago. So, the cosmetic industry, I think makeup's great. I think it's fun. I think, it's great to have fun with it. It's just not good to use it. In other words, if you take your makeup off and you don't look like the same person, then you have on too much. So, how's that?
Yeah, no, I have a friend who, when she first started dating after her divorce, she would not sleep over at a guy's house because she didn't want to wake up and look like she did when she woke up.
Right.
I mean, this stopped her from developing these intimate relationships. And I kept telling her there were a couple things actually. One was that she also had a disability and she was trying to hide it.
Mm.
And and she was like embarrassed about it. And it wasn't anything that defined her personality. So I would say to her, I want you to really own who you are, like be proud of who you are. This is not a fault of yours. This is not a weakness of yours. Like
Right.
be you.
Right.
And I feel like the theme that we're talking about today is really about authenticity. It's about being being okay with what we look like, how we age. I mean, I don't wear foundation. I barely wear any makeup. Luckily, I have good skin, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that I would want to do that even if I didn't have good skin, because it feels like a layer of a mask on my face.
Right, right. Well, it depends also what makeup you're wearing, but yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but yeah, you
sure.
have to. But again, that's who you are, and if you were to wear a lot of makeup, and the makeup artist made you look like uh, a Bravo housewife, um, you wouldn't feel pretty. You might look beautiful as maybe like the housewife does, but you really wouldn't be beautiful because it wouldn't be you and you wouldn't feel good about yourself. And that's what's going to come out,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
women do
agree.
that with their pictures too. Like they'll have their picture. I just saw this
Yeah.
ad for a woman who was giving a lecture, and she was at least like 40 pounds heavier in real life than she
Yeah.
was in the picture. The picture was this glamour shot that must have been so photoshopped or
Right.
super old. And I'm
Right.
like, they are not the same person. It's just
Right.
like, own it. Own who
Right.
you are. Nobody's
Right.
gonna hate you because you're 40 pounds heavier than your picture. But if
Right.
there's that disparity, then I start wondering, like, who
And
is
you don't want to shock somebody by being that different.
right?
So,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Own it. So what are some of the services that you do for women?
So every consultation starts out with me showing her the colors that are really fabulous on her and the colors that are taking away from her. And that means that there are colors that make our eyes pop out more in a good way, make our skin tone look more even, make our skin look smoother, believe it or not. And then there are colors that make us look like we need a vacation, or that there's something not quite right, that you're not feeling too good. Because there are colors that can make you look yellow and green or blue or red. And those are never the looks that we should be going for that are flattering. So I always start out with that. And then the trick to that is if you have only in your closet the colors that are best for you, you'll be able to mix and match them and make a whole bunch of outfits, as opposed to what most women have, which is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then nothing goes together. And that's why women keep saying I have nothing to wear. That's the first thing. The second thing I do is then show little details on clothes, whether it's necklines, shoulders, seams, hems, shapes of hems, believe it or not, textures of fabrics. What works best for a woman for her particular features? Because again, it's not a one size fits all. So if someone was to say that, like plaids were really being pushed a few months ago, plaids everywhere. Well, a plaid on some people can actually make their skin look bumpy or discolored. So it's an interesting little thing. So these are things that I will show a client. And then that way, she will no longer be buying things that will end up hanging in her closet and not like how she looks in them. And then what I do then in person or with photographs virtually is I put together outfits with the clothes that a woman already owns. And the reason why I can do that and she can is because, typically speaking, a woman will buy a pair of pants, let's say, and a top to go with it, and then never think that that top can go with something else in her closet, or those pants can go with something else. And it sounds so simple, but for me it's simple, but it's not simple for somebody else to combine a jacket with a different shirt. That's not the way she bought it. And with that all, I also then make recommendations of what to buy if if she actually needs something else to fill in what I call the blank spaces. So I look at a woman's wardrobe as a puzzle, and I put the pieces together and make a new puzzle, not the way she's been doing it. And then if there's a missing link, let's say there's a missing piece, let's say there's a pair of shoes that I know would really, really go great with a lot of her clothes, I'll make the recommendations or take her shopping either in person or virtually. Because we don't need a lot of clothes, we just need the ones that can help expand the wardrobe. And by my doing that, I break a woman's habit, because women tend to buy what they know or what they already have. And when I show them things to try, it's what they would never have picked out on their own. And it's something that they didn't know they could look good in, because they figured out on their own that they know what looks good and doesn't look good, but they're wrong because they haven't tried something else. And because I'm there, they will take my advice and try it. And that's my favorite part, when they see a different combination or they see a different piece of clothing on them, or, a picture, and they're like, the words are, I've never have picked that out myself. That's my favorite thing to hear. I love hearing that. So, but that's kind of my process. And if I work with somebody virtually, by the way, we spend a lot of time on the phone going over everything. So either way, I'm holding hands, but what I really want women to do is to decide for themselves. And this is my biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody. When you put something on and your first reaction is, well, maybe, then it's not right for you. It should be, well, well, maybe if I lose weight, or maybe if I find some shoes right away, first reaction. Everything in life really should be the first reaction.
Yes. There's a term for it, I don't want to curse because I don't know if this podcast is going to be rated X, but for now it's rated G. But the F yes or the F no. It's
okay.
like if you look at something and you go, F yes or F no.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's that in between, and I've seen it. I used to do it all the time. I just bought 3 tops at Marshall's and didn't feel like trying them on there. Tried them on at home. I had 1 that was a maybe, 2 that were a definite no. Tried it on again. It's going back.
Yep.
It's not the right fit, and it's not working, and it's not.
A maybe doesn't become a yes.
No, it's the same thing with dating.
Yep.
Most of the time. Sometimes a maybe can become a yes, but that's a whole other podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Scarlett, can you share one of your favorite stories about a woman that you've helped?
I was taking a client, her husband bought my services as a present for her. And she had gained a lot of weight. And she said she gained a lot of weight. And she didn't have clothes that fit her anymore. And she just wanted some basic clothes, instead of leggings and a t-shirt. So I took her to Macy's, which is an unusual store for me to take someone, but I want to be able to get a lot for her money. And while she was in the dressing room and she was trying on all these different clothes, she started to get more comfortable with me. And she told me that her husband, every year, this was like November, I think, every year her husband would have this huge formal party for his company. And that the last few years, as she had gained the weight, she would come up with excuses. So she would say that she wasn't feeling well, or she was sick and she couldn't go. And so she had skipped like the last 2 or 3 years. And while she was telling this to me, I was thinking to myself, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is her husband. And she was feeling so uncomfortable. So I went out on the sales floor And I found in the sales section, which is my favorite place to look, by the way. First word I taught my daughter how to read was sale at the Gap window in the mall. And I found this a blue evening gown, and it was like $79, something so outrageously low price. In her size, perfect color for her. And I brought it into her and I asked her to try it on. She wasn't looking for anything for evening wear. She just was opening up to me. And when she put that gown on and she saw herself in the mirror, I mean, it was like a tear. I still get like that. It was a teary-eyed moment because she saw how beautiful she could look,
Mhm.
you know, and it really wasn't about the size. She just didn't have the right dress all that time. And she went that year. It was really cool. And that was probably one of my favorites. And plus, it was really nice to get a gown like that for less than $100. That was pretty cool. So, but that's one of my favorite
I love that
situations.
story. Yeah, it's a great story because she had no idea and she was hiding. She was hiding and her husband was affected by this too. And
Right,
so here she came out of hiding. She
right.
came out and made her beautiful entry
Yeah,
because you helped her see that she was beautiful.
she was. It could not have been helpful for the marriage that she was doing that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We were just watching an episode of The Office, and Daryl, who's a big guy, has a crush on this woman, and they're at this pool party, and he doesn't want to go into the water,
Oh,
and everybody's, it's this whole thing where everybody's looking at each other's bodies, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm cool, I don't need to go in the water. And then he gets this surge of confidence, and he's like, screw this, and he takes his shirt off, he jumps into the water, and he was like, cannonball coming in, and it was such a great moment. And like I don't need to hide until I lose the weight, which is what his whole thing is. I'm
right,
losing the weight, I'll look good, then I'll take
right,
my shirt off, and it's
right.
just like, here I am. So it was a great
It's
moment.
hard to lose weight, and women as they get older, it gets a lot harder. And a lot of women will say, I would love to work with you, but I want to lose weight first. And and then another year goes by, and it's still the but. We shouldn't be wasting our time or not giving ourselves the care that we should be having right now because we are hoping or praying or think that something will change. Just take care of now. It's me.
I so agree with that. And people put off living, waiting for that
Yeah,
time when everything will be perfect, when I'll be the right weight, the right age, the right amount of intelligence, the right
right,
this, the right that. And
right,
it just, it doesn't come, that putting off life for that perfect day. You don't want to get to the end of your life with regrets that
right,
you didn't live.
right.
We don't know what life has in store. So
That's right.
live it, live it. All right. So Scarlett, what is in the future for you? What's going on for you? What's your vision for the future?
I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to help my son with his health get as good as he can get and to be able to have a somewhat of an independent life because I'm not going to be here forever, nor should I be here forever for him. And just to keep having fun because I refuse to not have a laugh every single day, and I refuse not to smile when I look at the sky.
I love it.
So,
That's a beautiful vision. And I especially love, well, I love all of it, but I especially love that you want your son to be independent and
yeah,
you work so hard to get him the help that he needs. And your life is unpredictable. I mean, we were supposed to record this podcast interview earlier and
right,
his schedule changed. And so
right.
you had to change plans. And so we roll with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I had a kid with special needs, and I also did not want to identify myself as the mother of a sick child, and that was all I was, which is also why
Right.
I had three more children, and people thought I was crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I didn't go down that road. So.
You still think I'm crazy. No regrets. I have no regrets. You took your path, I took mine.
Well, I
But
had
the
one
point
before,
was,
so
yeah, no, but the point was, right. So my son was the first, and
right.
I could have had one kid and had one kid pass away, and that would have been it for me. And I couldn't picture that as my future. So we all do what we have to do to really feel like we are of value in the world.
Yep.
So I am
Yep.
glad that you have a more balanced life and that you laugh every day, because fun is probably the one thing that my clients struggle with the most. Just
Mm,
injecting fun into your life. And when I say to them, because we look at their whole life in the balance that they have, we look at it as a wheel. And there is a part of the wheel of the 8 sections that is fun and recreation. And almost all of them are like maybe a 4, maybe a 3 out of 10. And it's that's something I help them do. Is like, you got to have fun. You got to laugh more.
yeah.
You got to get
Yeah.
out. You got to do things just for you that make you happy.
Yep. 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 If we can find some laughter in even the hard things, it'll just make it so much better,
Yeah,
so much easier.
especially, right, especially the hard things. I think
Yeah.
that my husband didn't really get that, because I had a good friend who we used to, both of us had special needs kids, and we used to make the most dark jokes, but we couldn't say them in front of anybody else.
Right.
Husband thought I was like a sick puppy, and that's okay. I
His
own it.
loss.
That's right, his loss. Okay. All right, Scarlett, it is time for the lightning round. Are you
Oh
ready for
God.
some quick questions?
Okay.
All right. The first question is a fill in the blank. I never thought I was blank enough.
Young enough
Hmm. Young enough for what?
lately. I never. I guess really more lately. I feel like that. I'm actually over it now, but I went through a period of time where I was wondering, am I too old to even have a business now? You know. So was I too? Maybe I was thinking maybe I was too old enough, instead of too young enough.
Oh, that
So
you didn't think you were young enough to be starting a business. And the answer is, you are never too old. It is never too late.
right,
And again, like, you're going to wait till that special day comes. Like, look at what you're doing now. It
right.
wouldn't have happened if you believed in this diminishing part of yourself.
True,
Like, this is
true.
the small Scarlet versus the big, powerful Scarlet. Okay, next question. What was the number one thing holding you back from becoming a woman of value?
I would say my son, incredible, his health issue, and then the unpredictability of every day is different with him, because you never know when he's going to have a seizure. You never know what kind of seizure. You never know what you're going to be. Something as simple as taking a train to the city with him, and I'm terrified that he's going to fall into the tracks. So you have to constantly being on edge. So I would think always being on edge was one way that I could have allowed myself to not offer anything to anybody else. So I would, but I'm done. I'm over that.
All right. You got over the young thing and the old thing and the sick child thing. Good. All right. We're overcoming. Check. All right. Next question. What is something you failed at that taught you an important life lesson?
I had this goal that I wanted to be on the Today Show with Kathy Lee and Hoda Kotb, yeah, because I wanted to show women tips on what they can do with their clothes that the magazines and the stores aren't showing them, because they're all there to make you buy something. And I wanted to show you what you can do and these tips with your own clothes and all that. And I realized, sadly, that my way of doing business is not going to get the attention of a media outlet, because I'm not there to make sales. Um, so I'm not sure I really answered the question, but I guess it was a bit of I had this dream, and then now I realize it's just not going to work out for my philosophy and my way of business.
I don't know. I haven't given up on that dream yet.
well, Kathy Lee's leaving, so it wouldn't be Kathy Lee and Hoda Kotb anyway.
Right. But you've always talked about Gail King and her
Yes,
outfits.
Gail.
And For a long time, we had a lot of Gail pictures up in the.
I blogged about wanting to work with her, and the day that my blog went out, my husband sends me on his phone a picture of him and Gail because they were both at the airport at the same time in this little teeny lounge area. And she looked at him and went, "Hi," and he went, "Hi," and then they were talking and they did selfies. And then he said, "My wife really wants to work with you," and she said, "Oh, what does she do?" And my husband, who's a salesperson, but not for me, said, "Oh, she shows women how to dress better." Thud. But it was such a universe thing that I write this blog, it goes out, it literally had just gone out to my subscribers, and he sends me a selfie. It was crazy. So yeah.
So don't give up on your dreams. Keep dreaming big, and you never know when you're going to meet Gail King and you'll say the right thing.
If anybody out there has any connections with Gail, send her my way, because I want to show her how she can wear orange and yellow and not make fun of herself, because she does all the time on Instagram. So
she needs Scarlett. Earth to Gail, God to Gail. All right, next question. What is the best advice that you can give to a woman who has given up her value in the past and wants to become a woman of value?
Don't sell yourself short. That everybody has something to offer to someone. And if you really feel lost, in my opinion, people should be volunteering with other adults or children or animals, because when you start to give, you get so much more back. And then I think you will have more self-esteem and more joy. So,
kind of back full circle to the beginning of this podcast when you were talking about what is a woman of value, and you mentioned giving.
I guess I believe strongly in that.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of giving. So in the last episode that I taped, we were talking about people who are overgivers and are drained. So when you say giving and you're talking about charity, that to me is about gratitude for your own life. It gets you out of your head and out of feeling sorry for yourself when you're contributing to other people's lives. Is that
as bad? Yeah, as bad as our problems are, there are people out there with much, much bigger and deeper problems.
Yeah.
Real problems. And if we can just expose ourselves to that in a positive way, I think it really changes a person's outlook.
Absolutely. Yes. Do you have any books that you can recommend to our audience that have helped you along your journey?
I don't read as much as I used to because I'm driving all the time. I'm reading Michelle Obama's book right now, which is great. I love the book The Help, because I like to be exposed to other ways of life than I have in my cushy world here in Westchester, New York. But I'm a big podcast person because I'm in the car all the time. And my favorite podcast comes out every Friday, and it's called Snap Judgment. And those are, again, life stories. So real stories told by people. And it could be anything from being a refugee. It could be being a person in Afghanistan who's trying to live with the bombings. It could be about a person who saw a ghost, whatever. I mean, but these are real stories, and I devour them because I really think we all need to know more about what's going on around us and not just in our own little bubbles.
Which kind of goes hand in hand with the giving and the charity and getting out of your own little bubble. I could see a theme here emerging, Scarlett.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I have to check that out, Snap Judgment.
It's so good.
Yeah, there's so many great podcasts, and this is one of them, of course. Yeah. And
of course.
So do you have a favorite woman of value quote that you can share?
Yeah, my favorite is Maya Angelou. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Because I don't think there's a second chance. When you do something that shows your character, you can't take it back. So that's a good one to me.
I love that one. It's one of my favorites. I pretty much love everything she has said. But
Yeah.
I think we can apply that to clothing too. Like if the clothing tells you what they are, believe it the first time.
It's not going to get better. Right.
That's right. It's not going to get better.
True.
So, Scarlett, as we come to the end, this is the legacy question. How would you like to be remembered?
As a woman who never gave up and who never stopped laughing. So, matter what there is that happens, I will still find some way to find humor in it. But I never give up. I am, I guess, a pit bull in that way. So if there's something that has been done that's not right, or that I feel could be better, I don't stop trying till I get there. So I guess I do have to work with Gail King then. So
I think so. Never give up, girl. And you're going to be on the Today Show working with Gail King, and you are tenacious. And I see that in your work, and I see that with your son. I see that in all of your life. You're resilient. You look for a million ways to do something. When somebody shuts a door, you open another one, and that's what makes you a success, and it's what makes you my friend.
thank you. Same here. Thank you.
Oh, let our listeners know how they can find you.
Oh, so my company is scarlettimage.com, 2 T's for Scarlett. And I'm on Facebook as Scarlett Image. Facebook, I'm very active because I love to share some of the ridiculous things I see out there in the fashion world, plus tips. But again, because we have to laugh. And on Instagram, it's Scarlett Image. LinkedIn is Scarlett Image. And that's really it, scarlettimage.com. And I have great free tips on my website for anybody who's interested.
And you have a Facebook group as well that people can join.
The marketing person here telling me. Yeah, my Facebook group is a private group. It's called Stop Stressing About Dressing, which happens to be my tagline. Request to join in that group if you have questions that you'd like me to answer, or want to post a picture and ask me a question about some piece of clothing or whatever. I love to interact with people. And I'll be making some announcements soon. I'm going to be having a challenge on how to clean out your closet. It's called End Your Closet Shame, again, because women are so ashamed of their closet. So that's coming up soon. So you'll find out about that on Facebook and in the private group.
And you have a book.
Stop Stressing About Dressing. Thank you. Available on Amazon. And it is a book filled with humor and styling tips.
Scarlett is all about the humor and the tips. So thank you so much, Scarlett, for coming on today, for doing this amazing work to help women stop stressing about dressing, to help women really own their authentic self, because you are the epitome of authenticity, of lightness and humor, of facing adversity and not letting anything stop you. So thank you for modeling what a true woman of value is. If you would like to step more fully into your value, grab a free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Woman of Value on my website, thewomanofvalue.com. Just click the link at the top of the homepage. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to click the subscribe button in your listening app. And if there's something in this episode that inspired you, please share it with others, because the more we share these inspirational stories, the more women of value we will have in this world. I'll see you next time.